In this draft, Quinn Ewers, who played quarterback at Texas. Quinn Ewers was not projected to be a first-round pick necessarily, but Quinn Ewers was projected to be one of the 4 or 5 top quarterbacks taken in that draft. Quinn Ewers did not get drafted until the 7th round. This happens to all kinds of players. I saw something where Ryan Clark's son, Jordan, who played DB at Notre Dame, was expected to be taken in the draft. I saw somewhere like in the first 2 days. He wound up being undrafted. This happens, right? This is a thing. However, those who don't know that much about this process immediately went to conspiracy. And that infuriated me so much. Stephen A. Smith went and said that he received a text from somebody who said that this feels like Kaepernick all over again. And I don't know who said that to Stephen A. Smith, but for that own person's sake, I am glad they did not put his or her name on it, whoever that person was, because I think you are dumb. Like, if you actually think that is what happened, I think you are probably stupid. Here's why I think you are probably stupid. Colin Kaepernick has not had a job in the NFL since 2017. I have lived in New York City for 8 years. I have never watched Colin Kaepernick play football in this city, okay? That's how it looks when you get blackballed. What y'all think happened to Shedeur? Y'all think he got grayballed? Like, if your argument is they wanted to show this outspoken black man his place, number one, let us stop acting like outspoken and obnoxious are perfect synonyms. They are not. Show me something that Shedeur Sanders has spoken out about. Tell me what that thing is. Tell me what his cause is, right? He's not outspoken. I have not seen any reason to call him outspoken. Even if you think he's been treated unfairly, outspoken is a stretch, and it is a ridiculous thing to say about him, I believe. But if you think the league was trying to show Shedeur and his daddy something, if you think the league was trying to send a message, why would the message be, you're a 5th round pick? If they were going to show him a message, he wouldn't get drafted. Again, if you're going to compare him to Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job. That's how they send a message. What you think? You think the white man is trying to show a message to us delicately? When has the white man ever showed us anything with finesse? That is not how the white man works. The white man will smack you upside the head and put your face in the mud if that's what the white man trying to do. And they took him in the 5th round. That's not what happened here. There's no legitimate evidence to what happened here, okay? If your argument is the NFL wanted to show an arrogant dude how to get in line, go check some of the things that Cam Ward has had to say about himself and how well he plays. That is no shrinking violet. That is not a humble young man. But you know what he is? A first-round talent. And as a first-round talent, he got drafted in the 1st round. Guys, 15 years ago, Cam Newton went number 1 in the draft. You think you think that's not the dude that somebody would feel the need to show a message to? You think that's not the guy that somebody would want to talk to? He went number 1 overall in the draft in the course of that year. I'm just saying, you need to explain better to me why it is that they go send a message to Shedeur. You're like, oh, they want to send a message to Deion Sanders. Nobody has been more instrumental in building the legend of Deion Sanders than the NFL. People in the NFL have very high opinions of Deion Sanders. If not, he wouldn't have worked at the NFL network for so damn long. What strikes me about this is that for so many people, and I get it, I think that we are using a somewhat antiquated notion of what it is to be a black quarterback in the NFL. Things are not the same as they were 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I'm not even sure if they're the same as they were 5 years ago. But this is the bottom line. I'm not out here saying that racism is over, right? And I am deathly afraid of being the person that's out here giving the white man a little bit too much credit. That is not good for business, at least not for my business, okay? However, in the NFL, if you are a quarterback and they don't think that you're a starter, there's no real press to take you in the draft. But then there's number 2, and this part is very important. If you are going to be on an NFL roster as a quarterback, but you are not a player, or like you're not going to play, right? It is imperative that you be a great hang. Your job is to be part of the support staff. Your job is to sit in the room, watch film, soak up game, and do what you can to help the starter. That's what it is. That's what your job is to do if you are a quarterback who is not a starting quarterback. That is the bottom line. How much they like you matters at backup quarterback more than it matters anywhere else. My good buddy Steve White, God rest his soul, he made this point many years ago. He was like, they don't put a whole lot of assholes on that clipboard. Like, let me give you an example. You think Jeff George was unable to play after the age of 34? Jeff George can throw that football right now. But when no team thought Jeff George was good enough to be a starter, Jeff George didn't play anymore because people don't like Jeff George. They got to think that you are a good hang. Part of this is a jokey exaggeration. A lot of it is real as penitentiary steel. And where we are in the NFL, where this is progress with the quarterbacks as it relates to black quarterbacks, is there are a lot of the career backup quarterbacks. Geno Smith hung around as a backup long enough to get back to being a starter, right? To get to a place where a lot of people thought he might have been able to get early in his career. 20 years ago, that doesn't happen. We got a lot of other guys that we can point to. Tyrod Taylor is able to make big backup quarterback money in the league right now after being told he wasn't a starter. It used to be basically either you was a star or you couldn't get on. That's not the NFL anymore. That's not happening. Okay? And so I think we do ourselves a disservice if we don't acknowledge what the actual state of affairs is right now. Because look, there's still issues, right? And there's still some questions about like how quickly a black quarterback loses his job, for example. What are the things that a black quarterback has to answer for? All of those things are still questions that we have to deal with. All of those things still exist. None of those things have at all to do with Shedeur Sanders. This is what has to do with Shedeur Sanders, I believe. And this, I think, is very, very important, okay? I think for everybody to pay attention to and understand. I believe, and I want to say this is not simply based on speculation. I talked to people who do a lot of draft evaluations. I talked to people in the media who covered this and some people around the NFL. And my question was, how did we hear that Shedeur was going to go so early and then he went in the 5th round? Because him going in the 5th round is not unreasonable. Once again, anybody who tells you everybody thought that Shedeur Sanders was going to go in the 1st round is either lying or doesn't know what they are talking about. Because I can tell you one show that told you that there was a chance that he was going to quote unquote slide. And it was this show right here. To my colleagues who are making this a cause, you are embarrassing yourselves. You are playing yourselves. Okay? And even if part of why he fell is because the people didn't like him, he was going for a job where being liked is part of the deal. They did it wrong. That's all it comes down to. They did it wrong. But do not. There are criticisms to be made of Colin Kaepernick, but he literally gave it all up in the name of a cause that was bigger than him. The only cause Shedeur Sanders has is himself. Don't you motherfucking dare act like those two things are the same. Do not. Have you lost the plot so badly? Look around you. The whole world is on fire. And you think that this is the thing to get mad about? You think that this is the thing to go march on and to go talk about? Because the NFL told an apparently obnoxious young man that he wasn't good enough to be a starter? He wasn't good enough to be a starter. If your thing is they took Johnny Manziel in the 1st round, do you think they would have done that over again? I saw somebody try to make a comparison between Baker Mayfield and Shedeur Sanders. Do you see how long it took for Baker Mayfield to become a good NFL quarterback? Baker Mayfield is one of the greatest college football quarterbacks of all time who actually had elite traits. If your argument is somebody took Baker Mayfield, oh, buddy, Shedeur Sanders, he ain't that. He's not that good. But again, that's an argument you make if you don't know what you're talking about. So those of you who don't know what you're talking about, and you know you don't know what you're talking about, would you please shut the fuck up? Because there are things that are so important that you're missing And your outlook is not doing a service to the young man that you claim to care about. It's not. Because he got some things he needs to hear. And I don't know if his daddy's going to be the one to tell him. I don't know who's going to be the one to tell him. But he better learn them fast. Otherwise, his NFL career will end in August.